Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Witzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Witzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP featured guest today is a phenomenal talent with a great story. She is a certified high-performance coach for empathetic and introverted leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs. She has coached C-suite tech executives in Silicon Valley, CMOs, real estate investors managing over $1 billion of assets, COO of an 800-person advertising office, sales leaders, international DJs, educators, consultants, coaches, and even a magician. We'll have to talk with her about that. She loves Brazilian Zouk with the love of her life, her husband, Shane. So please help me welcome Carla Blumenthal. Hello, Carla.
Oh, hi, Amber. It is so fabulous to be here with you today.
I am overjoyed, completely over the moon to visit with you today, too, as you share your Silhouette of Success story with us.
Fabulous.
Yeah. All right, my lady. Full disclosure, I always say that. I think it's part of my other hat that I wear. But we've known each other over the years. But to help illustrate your Silhouette of Success for the audience, would you like to share a little bit about your background with us?
Sure. Well, I always like to begin in the very, very beginning. So when I look back at who I was as a child, I was quite shy and introverted. And I really loved, even though I was shy and introverted, I loved understanding why did people do what they do. So I actually did a lot of theater and acting and learning about like emotions and character development, and ended up studying communications and marketing because I thought, okay, I can apply this curiosity around who people are to business. So I moved to New York City in 2009 and worked in advertising at agency where I worked on Microsoft and Visa, and then went client side, worked at a big health foods brand, and ended up being let go from that job and went through a big quarter life crisis moment where I really asked myself, what did I want to do? Who am I? And through that exploration, this was about almost 7 years ago, through that exploration, I really leaned into going back to that curiosity around humans. And that led me to the fields of leadership, training, and coaching, which is what I do now. So I work with my practice, and how I've worked has evolved over the years. But now I currently work with empathic and sensitive and introverted leaders, usually in the corporate world, in supporting them to overcome sort of their overwhelm, their overgiving, their overthinking, and step into more confidence and leadership. And I also work with some entrepreneurs as well in supporting them in starting their businesses. So it's been quite a journey, but definitely a journey back to who I've always been, but in a different form.
Wow. Wow. That is so cool to find out. You just exude joy. But, the audience hears it right now already. Of course, they hear it in your voice. And to find out that you've had some acting in your past and some theater is fantastic. But to tie that in with being introverted is interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I often think that the introversion is what led me to the acting and theater at a young age because
Yeah.
I felt more confident sort of being someone else at that
Uh,
young age.
yes.
And that gave me an outlet to explore. And I'm so grateful for those years because then I felt more confident sort of being myself. And so I think it actually tied in quite well, even though it looks on the outside like it wouldn't.
Wow, that is fascinating. Now, did you decide to go into theater on your own? Was it something that maybe you were influenced or someone guided you into those? Were they classes what, in high school, junior
Mm.
high, younger than that?
Yeah, exactly. It was middle school, high
Yeah.
school. And yeah, you know what? It is something that was in my family in some ways. So actually, my grandfather did a lot of, he actually worked in advertising as well, but he did a lot of community theater his whole life, sort of on the side, just being a part of different plays. And when he retired, he actually opened up a small theater in our town for plays and just different things. It is a smaller town theater, but really it's still running. I think I mean over must be over 20 years. So that was really successful. So I got to do some acting there and at school and in various camps and locations.
How cool is that? What
Yeah.
fun memories you must have. Oh, that is so
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so it's interesting too because in what you've shared with us, which I read a little bit of your bio in the intro, because I don't ever want to give it all away. I want you to share Brazilian Zouk, educate me. Of course, we can always do the whole Google Noodle, duck, duck, go, whatever,
Yeah.
you search. But I wanted to ask you, and then nope, be surprised. So tell us,
Yeah.
what is that?
Definitely. So it's pronounced Zouk,
Zouk.
Zouk. Yeah. So I was introduced to it by my husband. He actually moved to New York City to learn this dance. It's sort of not wide known. A lot of people know salsa and bachata as a partner dance, but this is sort of a smaller community, and it's a beautiful, flowy dance. It can also be done to sort of more hip hop R&B music, but he introduced me to the community and to the dance, and I learned it throughout the years. We actually did our wedding song to a Brazilian Zouk dance, and now he teaches in the city. He teaches classes, and so it's been really fun and definitely a journey to learn how to partner dance, how to dance with other people you don't know, and especially when you're in close connection, how to sort of release your guard and dance when it maybe you aren't used to. I mean, I wasn't used to having someone right in front of me dancing. That's definitely a
Uh-huh.
physical learning curve I had to move through.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack in that two-word in your bio. There's a lot in there. I have to share this fun factoid. Carla's enthusiasm for life, of course, and so our audience knows, is just big, as you can tell. But she travels with folded up dancing shoes. I've seen it. Right? Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you do. Yes. So again, the zest for life, and when the time calls for dancing, she is there. So that story of meeting, or working with your husband through all those things, that again ties back really in you exploring the limits or maybe eviscerating some of those boundaries by
Mhm.
going through the dancing and the introvert. Wow. You've got a lot of tie-ins.
Yeah, and that's why I always think, as a coach, my role is supporting other people in their own growth and development, but
Yes.
I need to go first.
Mm.
And that's why being a coach, it's sort of, yes, it's one of the greatest joys of my life to do the work, but it's always at the end of the day to be in alignment with what I do. It actually requires me to be in alignment in my life and explore where I'm in a fixed mindset, where I'm not growing. And when I find those edges, it's uncomfortable, but I know I need to move forward because that's how my clients will also move forward too. So it sort of goes hand in hand.
And I would suspect that you are amazingly successful because you do, in just what you shared with us, you have that credibility from the heart and the authenticity that people can see. So it does not surprise me to hear you say that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes. So when you're a coach, and you talked a little bit about your journey to then be a coach, or to where you are right now, how was it to decide, or what was it that helped you really decide to go on your own? Because you have your own company. Is that true?
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll start from the beginning of what prompted me to become a coach. As I shared, I was going through that big change several years ago, and I started a small group of women where I would bring people together. I love drinking tea, and I would have people. I'm based out of New York City, so I put up a group on Meetup.com and said, let's have tea and have conscious conversation. And so once a month, I would facilitate these conversations, with strangers, but lovely people around just different topics of growth. And my friends and colleagues saw this and were like, how can I run this we had a group in Orlando and Seattle and San Francisco. So it was really cool to see this. And it was just a passion project of mine. How I became a coach, there's obviously a seedling there, but it was really reflected to me. So as I was doing this project, I went to a networking event. This was March 2015. I was at an in-person networking event, if you can remember those, and went and told people about this passion project of mine, just sharing. And the next day, I received an email from someone who I had met at the event, and he happened to be a CEO of a large real estate company. And he said, "You seem really empathic. Can you train me to have more empathy? Can you become my coach?" And that was incredibly flattering, a little weird, but I was like, yes. I had not I had received coaching, but I had not
Yeah.
coached before. So I started coaching, received support from some of my mentors who were my coaches at the time, and sort of found my way through my mentors' support and joining different coaching programs, and then eventually starting my own business. But it really was because it was reflected to me. The gift and the passion I had could be channeled into coaching.
Wow. Training wheels off. And
Yeah.
off she went. Wow, that is fantastic. How do you identify your ideal client, and how do you find your clients? Because our audience is just a vast array of everyone going through, very similar to what you shared of your silhouette of success story and journey at different points in their path. So how do you find your ideal client, and what do they look like?
Yeah. So my clients all have really big hearts. They are usually people who they're sort of how I describe them, they have the four O's in common. So they tend to overthink things. So they might be ruminating in their head on, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Or this happened, and sort of ruminating on that. So they tend to overthink, they overgive. So they may not have great boundaries. They might, at work, just always, yep, sure, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, without really pausing and thinking about themselves or, in family relationships. So overthink, overgive, they overwork, which sort of goes in with that. And then because of a lot of this, they have a lot of overwhelm at times. So those are the four O's, the challenges that my clients often face. And it all, though, comes from this place of sort of just wanting to do what's right. And whether that's in their career or with their family. So they tend to be very empathic. There's a term called highly sensitive, which is sort of a different than introversion and empathic, but they process things very deeply and notice a lot of details around them. And so they're usually at a crossroads in their career or in a relationship, or they either have challenges in there, or they're just ready, they're stuck, they're ready for the next level. And so usually clients come to me, through all different avenues, usually a lot through my network and referrals, as well as I often do webinars and podcasts like this. But typically, my favorite ways that I have been working with clients is through a program that I run called the Empathic Leadership Collective, ELC. And this is a group program that I run that is all about helping empathic leaders in community to up to their next level of leadership. So it's through classes and group coaching and guest experts that we really support these incredible leaders to really go to their next level.
Whoa, overload. That is amazing. So we will touch on that to make sure that we have all of your contact information and the links in the show notes so everyone can go research all of this that you have to offer, because by nature, and that you were able to identify your 4 O's, by nature, it sounds like your client base are just some phenomenal types of people too, because of everything that you shared. I mean, just the sound heart of it all. So, wow, how gratifying for you, your work.
It really is such a joy, and running your own business, there's lots of highs, there's lows. So I don't want to paint a picture that it's perfect, right? But
Right.
that I wouldn't continue in this work with such vigor if I didn't absolutely love serving these types of clients and really see tangible results in their careers and lives from the work. So it's quite gratifying.
Yeah. Wow. So cool. In reading some about you, you have participated in some jaw-dropping and impressive organizations as a speaker. Do you want to share a little bit of that with our audience?
Sure. So yeah, I've been very blessed to give talks at various organizations. I mean, this year I gave quite a few talks to just different networking groups and companies. But I think it has been a journey of understanding what am I here to say and what is my main message. But in the past, I had been especially during that time in 2014, 2015, 2016, as I was going through my own transformation, I was very blessed to give a TEDx talk talking about that experience, talking about the T group and all the learnings from that. And then was also through a leadership project I had been working on, was also able to run events and speak at TEDWomen, which was such a blessing. So yeah, some really exciting speaking opportunities and ways to expand just, the things I had been working on.
Very neat. Thinking about that and reflecting back, who or what has influenced you the most throughout your Silhouette of Success journey?
Great question. I mean, I do have several people that come to mind. I mean, I think first one that comes to mind sounds cliche, but my dad. He's a family doctor. He's very a little old school and like very much spends a lot of quality time with each of his patients. And I think I really learned from him that it's really important, when there's something happening in your life, it's not always the symptom, right? Like in a medical thing, it's not always the symptom that's the problem. There's something else happening deeper, right? And
Mm.
so I sort of saw him growing up just exploring that. And so I think that was imprinted on me at a very young age. So my dad comes to mind. My first mentor, Dr. Tracy Thomas, she really supported me during that transformation time that I was sharing. So she had a great impact on me. And then my training with Brendan Burchard, the High Performance Institute, he's the highest paid high performance coach in the world. And to be able to be in the room with him and learn from him and the High Performance Institute is really such a fabulous role model for me as well.
That's amazing. It is. We are genuinely blessed when we have different mentors at different stages, because when we go through the different stages of our journey, we are maybe more open, or we're seeing or needing different things. But the invaluable lessons that you were able to observe from your dad always has a special imprint, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Where do you turn to as a independent business owner? Moreover, as a coach, do you still have a coach, or where do you turn to when you need some support?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I always say, I don't think I was looking back a few weeks ago. I don't think I've been without a coach for the past 7 years. Like I nonstop have been in either a high level mastermind with a coach or a one on one coach. So that has always been a big part of. I receive coaching well. I had a mentor who once said that this is like the chain of support, right? Like if you're a coach and you're without the chain in front of you, your coach, you're sort of broken off from the larger connection. So having that chain of support where you're being supported and then, you're supporting others, that's a really important process for your ongoing growth and development. So right now I'm working with a phenomenal business and sales coach, Laura Wright. And so I always have someone, whether it's personal or professional, that I'm working with.
That's great. And it's interesting because it's very much when people ask us, why are you coached? You're already at XYZ level or you're already here, but it's very much akin to being like the athletes. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
they're at this level, but to continue to stay on your game and to improve, would you agree you have to have a coach or stay in the game of some nature?
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Very cool. Well, so in getting to know you a little bit more and hearing about, of course, the full heart that you have for empowering and helping and supporting others, can you connect this? We talked a little bit about tying it back to your youth, but is there maybe someone or something that helped influence the mission? Is it a collective, would you think, of your experiences, or was there maybe one instance that really drove you to what you're doing now?
Mm. I like to think of it as there are these like pivot points. I think there's the Steve Jobs quote. He said, you can't see, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, you can't see life moving forward, but you can sort of connect the dots looking backward.
Yes.
And I really believe that at each moment, right, when I was originally let go from my job, I could have chose to just jump back into what I was doing, right? So I had that moment was really important. But then at each moment of choosing, do I move forward with this mentor? Do I, that moment of someone asking me for coaching, I could have said no, or I'm not really trained, or, like I could have at each level and each moment is its own big moment. And so I think being able to recognize, and that's a great message for you, the listener, of like each moment in each day, you do have decision inflection points where you can decide how you want to move forward. And in fact, those decision points are the most important points because it does change where you're moving, where you're going, or maybe it doesn't change it. So just being mindful that actually each day we have those. And there might be bigger ones than others, but that there's always a choice.
So well said. So well said. Thinking about that too, and in your world and in your life, what maybe are some positive adjustments that you have made along the way in your life or environment to help support you with your goals, growth, and dreams? Like a combination of, or what do you put around, I call it my plexiglass dress. Kind of let
Mm,
it bounce off, but not to. But how do you help support where you're going next or what you're wanting to achieve?
yeah. I think there's multiple levels of what I've put in place, and this has taken me several years to build out. But it all starts with at the end of the year, I do like the final weekend between Christmas and New Year's. I do a really deep reflection of the past year and then a vision for the upcoming year. And really spend time to ground myself in that. It usually takes about 3 days to go through like the whole process and really let it settle. And so that's like the first thing is starting with that higher level connection and reflection and vision. And so with that, then I have more of a guidepost so that as things come in, I'm able to sort of realign. And with that, I actually look at that every Sunday to see, is this still true, and to really connect into that higher level vision. And then I think so that's sort of a yearly activity. I also do, daily activities of even just the simple things. Like I think we underestimate the physical side of our well-being, and how that really impacts our mood or how we're performing or even our dreams. So really taking good care of my body and exercising and eating well and meditating, reading. There's always like another growth edge with that, but I think having a good routine and foundation supports everything else. So my plexiglass is a little bit of like having that yearly connection and then looking at, every month and every day how I can support myself in that process.
Love that, which is a perfect segue, by the way, which
Mm.
wasn't planned, into looking a little bit deeper inside your silhouette and talking about what feeds your soul. How do you relax and unwind? And then maybe the second part of that question would be sharing with the audience, because we're always hungry for different resources. Do you have a favorite book or a series, genre, or author that really kind of, helps to inspire and uplift you? What would you want to share with us?
Hmm. Yeah. So I think how I relax, unwind, I just love like talking and connecting and having deep conversations. Might not to some people seem relaxing, but that is a big part of like, I just feel like, being able to talk to a friend or family or whatever it might be. I just find, especially since I'm a solo business owner, and
Yes.
I serve my clients, but being able to have that deeper connection at the end of the day is really nice. And then a book that oh my gosh, there's so many. I think I would start by saying I mentioned the highly sensitive person, and there's a whole world of research and ideas around this. We didn't dive too much into it, but if you consider yourself empathic, maybe even introverted, I would definitely recommend picking up. It's literally a book called The Highly Sensitive Person by Dr. Elaine Aron. And I wouldn't say this isn't, an inspiration book, but it could be considered that, if you are sort of fit into this bucket, because it explains what it means to have a highly sensitive nervous system, how to support yourself. And so that was a book that really helped me, did give me inspiration to see, okay, there's things I can do to be successful the way I am, going back to what we talked about, versus trying to be someone else.
So critical.
Yeah.
So life changing. So thank you for that. And we will make sure to include that book or a link to it, because, yes, to have that ability to understand why you are working in the way that you're working and maybe to improve and uplift that. So thank you for sharing that. So
Sure.
all right, my lady, it has been a sheer joy visiting with you today. And as we begin to wrap up and keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration, what would a key piece of go-to advice be that you would like to share with our audience?
I think I mentioned this, I mentioned it a few minutes earlier, but if you recognize that each moment, right, each day, there are choices. And you don't have to have some grand awakening or meditate on a mountain or, have to move to the other side of the world to change your life. That there are things you can do each moment. If you are open, you open yourself up, you open your heart, you open your mind, you put yourself out there just a little bit. There are going to be opportunities and moments that come to you. So you don't have to understand it in the moment, but if you recognize it as a decision and a choice and treat it with care, things will shift and change. So be open to that magic and possibility.
Superb. And that was so great how you shared that, the magic and the possibility. Okay, awesome. I'm sitting here, I was taking notes and then I just stopped. You froze me. So I
Mhm.
love that. I love that.
Thank
All
you.
right, my lady, this is your stage. And so where can our audience go to find and connect with you on your socials, to support you and your continued success, or to see how you can, of course, help them?
Wonderful. So yeah, I would love to connect with with you, the listener, if this has intrigued you. So my website is just my name, carlablumenthal.com. I also have on my website, you can sign up for my newsletter. So I share a couple times a month, just some things, ways to engage. Like I said, I love the work that my clients and I are doing in the Empathic Leadership Collective. So if that is of interest to you, please, if that sounds intriguing, please reach out to me. You can book a call on my website to talk more about what that might look like for you. And then I'm over on Instagram, just my full name, Carla Blumenthal. Feel free to DM me. And then a little bit less active, but still over on Facebook at Carla Blumenthal Coaching.
Fantastic. And again, we'll make sure and include those resources for everyone to get a hold of you. So, Carla, thank you once again for sharing your silhouette of success with us. You have been a sheer joy to visit with and an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you for having me, Amber. This has been so much fun. I love this.
Oh, well, thank you for taking time. And again, enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberwitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberwitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Witzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.